Yeah, but why do you feel like you need to, why do you feel you need to get that little win?
Let me just tell you this. My ego was huge, do you know what I mean? But that bubble bursts, treat me like subhuman scum. I'll quarantine on the moon and I'll come and fight you. And you're coming to me with a missus, the state of that, mate. So I'm gonna ruin your life. I've had contracts with BKFC. Like, I might as well just screwed it up and just thrown it in the bin, mate.
You've won the fight. How do you feel about it?
Fucking brilliant. Great. My eyes... What, genuine now?
Well, no, well, you did. Remember, this is coming out afterwards, isn't it?
Oh, right, this is coming afterwards. Yeah, so obviously a great thing to return to bare knuckle back in Britain after everything that's happened. Yeah.
Back in here as well. This is like, for me personally, this reminds me of when I started really feeling like I was making a difference, like leveling up. So I was leveling up. You allowed me that opportunity. So even BKB, was the first place I went to. Jim and Joe, and I said to them like, do you mind if I come along? They said, we got enough guys. So I said, I'll do it for free. So there I was, and then fucking you had that fight. Fucking hell.
Yeah, and that video obviously blew me up. Got me a hell of a lot of recognition, attention online. And then, yeah, you come along here, we were doing loads of videos. It's actually a little bit emotional coming in here, to be fair. Obviously, you've seen it when it was at its best, when it was my boot camp and everything else. So to like see it, how bare it is now and the changes. A lot has happened in the last few years. Obviously, I've been in America for a couple of years and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a little bit emotional coming in there and seeing it, how bare it is.
Yeah, I saw you even, you know what I mean? You like, it's when you move a lot or there's a lot of change, things end up in boxes that shouldn't end up in boxes. Do you know what I mean? And then you end up going, oh shit, this is important. This is actually, or maybe it's also things that didn't seem important at the time become more valuable.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I've not been in here for ages. So, yeah, you see me when I come in here and I was just riddling about the boxes and things like that. And then obviously found a lot of stuff that perhaps I didn't really want to see.
Yeah, but even when we came here, I was saying, like, oh, what's you doing in the barn? You're like,
yeah.
You're like, no. And then I was like, we went in there, because obviously you're like, that's where you got to do it, that's where we do it.
Yeah.
And then we came in and then it's no wonder why, isn't it? Because a lot of it is like, fucking,
it's fitting that we do it here because, like I said, like this is where we started, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All them years ago. So, as I said to you before, like you've seen it grow, and you've seen it now. So it's like you've seen it over time. But yeah, it's definitely emotional coming in here, and perhaps I don't think that I perhaps did want to come in here. I've generally not been in here for years because I don't really want to see it because there's a part of me it's like it's a bit wounded. Do you know what I mean? But
well, that's the thing is you can tell by this room alone that when you went to America, you were like, I'm going there. That's my plan.
Yeah.
Like, you said to your parents, do whatever you like with it. You utilise it how you like. Because obviously the good thing about your family is they've always invested in you because they've seen that you've invested in yourself. You've got the gym there that looked, you had one of the coolest ones. Remember those photo shoot we did there?
Yeah.
Sick, blah, 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 everything's sick. But then when you walk in there today, it's like you can tell, I ain't coming back. Do you know what I mean?
No, like America for me was the golden ticket. I had no plan of doing anything other than going to America, smashing it, living there, being successful. It was the golden ticket to change my life. So, yeah, like stepping back in here and being like, right, this was going great for me 6 years ago. So now stepping back in here and obviously all that's happened in the last couple of years, yeah, man, it definitely brings it back, makes it a bit emotional.
But even when you mentioned it there, like getting, a lot of people are talking about, the influencer, follower. We made content, in 2018? Obviously, that was the peak of MMA videos and all that kind of stuff as well. Again, in my lifetime, I've made over 6 billion views. Obviously, no one knows that because like I've always been behind the camera. Yeah. And guys like you, there's loads of guys I can name that like know if I'm coming, I'm going to put the maximum amount of effort in to make it look good. And then again, like we had Daniel Lurwell, he blew up millions of views and here, there and everywhere. But it feels like that kind of, that's what I don't like about it, right? If you're not currently making millions of views, it doesn't matter how many you made.
Yeah, it's relevance, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's also like, if it's such an important economy, it's very much like if it was a coin, yeah, that coin within 3 months, yeah, that coin you hold is worthless.
Yeah.
So you always need to be getting more and more and more and more. So that's why I feel like the crossover between boxing, which is building a legacy, the whole point of boxing is that once you've done something, it's solidified. You can't take something away from someone. But now it's convoluted, it's kind of mixed between this, oh, if you're not currently boxing at the moment, then it means that you're not a boxer anymore. It means everything you've done in the past is worthless.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is like, that's not what boxing's about.
I completely agree, yeah. Obviously, I've had many argument with influencers, all this kind of stuff, social media people, you know, regarding my achievements in the sport, which, look, you know, anyone who's a genuine fighter in the game knows who I am, knows what I've achieved, and I like to think would pay me a lot of respect. This new age of influencer, social media, crossover fighter, yeah, is you know, doesn't pay me the respect and is more, yeah, just more geared towards creating a story alongside the fighting. The fighting's like a byproduct, like a part of it. Do you know what I mean? Sort of gets eyes on that person, and then it's about the story, and it's about being, like we said, being relevant is obviously huge. And once you're sort of riding that wave, keeping that wave going, isn't it? Like that video that we done, the bare knuckle artist,
Rory's title
blew up, didn't it? Like went massive. And I remember, and to be honest, like looking back on it now, it probably got to my ego a bit. Like, and I was obviously messing around with stars and living that mad life of be like, do you know what? I'm a G, mate. I'm like the bare knuckle artist. I got all these stars. I remember going to Ibiza with about 5 stars, and I remember being in like Ocean Beach, people coming up to me like, wow, mate, like, what are you? Because you've got all these like naked women next to you and you're just long haired, jewelry on, chains and everything else. Like, well, I'm a bare knuckle fighter and these are all stars. My ego was huge. Do you know what I mean? It's fully inflated. But that bubble bursts. It does, like you say, staying relevant. I mean, obviously I've had 4 Instagram accounts deleted, which hasn't helped one bit. I think I'd be a hell of a lot further down the line now if I'd kept them 4 Instagram accounts.
We've kept the first one, you mean?
Well, yeah, kept the first one.
But this is the thing. See, even you, the crossover between, you know, you as a young child you were looking up to certain fighters, and the legacy is what's important. You know, and I feel like you're back to that now. You're like, you want to just solidify certain things, which is good. The unfortunate thing is you have to go through all that. There's a lot for people to have to learn before they go, all you've done is gone for a big round circle and gone back to the mentality before. But that's good though, because even if you look at, you were so determined, there was a good part of it. You were so determined. I mean, you were willing to fly during COVID and be there and do that. Like, and again, the sad part of it is that even those things, they're part of the clout economy, right? So now all of a sudden, that's forgotten. It's like, well, that still happened though.
Yeah.
And what has that done for the sport?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially for the UK industry, I believe, you know, you were one of the guys willing to take the risk.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said earlier, like to you when we were chatting about it, like at the end of the day, you know, I've not had the respect paid to me for what I've done in COVID. At the end of the day, like when I lay it out in facts, I went over in twice, once against the #1 in the sport, in separate countries for 15 days just to gain entry to America without a training team. I had no one to hold my hand or pat me on the back and tell me how great I was. I went and fought in Mississippi against Charles Fenley Bennett, who is an absolute MMA legend. The first fight, he's had like, 80, 90 fights, Pride days and all that. Like, what that guy doesn't know about fighting isn't worth knowing about.
Yeah, it's super awkward as well. So it's like you had a very traditional, very skillful, slick boxing. But the thing is, when you get 2 boxers, it's about who can outclass each other.
Yeah.
Then you get bare knuckle, and then all of a sudden, especially during the generation
as
you're
well,
part of.
like with bare knuckle FC, let's not forget, like you're allowed to hold, you know, clinch or whatever. So I went from bare knuckle boxing over to BKFC, and obviously I didn't have a training team or anything, so I just went over there completely blind against a guy who's had like 90 MMA fights. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's clean. That's the thing as well. Is like MMA with regards to clinching. There's so many little details that they know. Even little things like, oh, so they know the feeling of you push this way. Cool. So obviously, I believe you were like, there's not going to be that much to deal with.
No.
Meanwhile, if you get caught, it's like getting trapped by a fucking like a anaconda or a fucking. Do you know what I mean? It'd be like, you ain't getting out of that shit.
And then after that fight, you know, Luis Palomino went on Instagram and he'd just knocked both of his previous opponents out in about 20 seconds. And he went on Instagram talking about how no one will fight, no one dares to fight him, etc., etc. I went on there and said, look, mate, I'll quarantine on the moon and I'll come and fight you. Boom, all of a sudden, I'm in Dominican Republic for 15 days with a 3 p.m. curfew, training by myself, no one there to hold my hand once again. And then I go over to Miami and fight the Miami pound for pound best in the sport in his backyard of Miami. You know, and again, no one will pay me that respect. But like I opened the door for everyone, man. This sport, bare knuckle FC would not be over here doing their thing now if it wasn't for me. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, when I opened the door for all you guys in the most tough circumstances possible, in the middle of COVID with no training team, you think as well, like in combat sport, like, will that ever happen again? Will there ever be in professional combat sport a person that goes and quarantines for 15 days in a different country to gain entry and then fights without a training team? Do you think there's probably not anyone stupid enough to do that? But it won't happen again. Like, but yet no one talks about it.
Yeah, the thing is, you need like the perfect storm of a rising industry, like a new sport, right? And it's got to the point where it's gone beyond, you know, the tough guys, the hard guys.
Yeah.
Then it needs to become so much so that it becomes, you know, like you got Sean George, you had that like prize fighter, those guys, you had Connor Tierney as well, you had James Kennelly. The level rose there. And then you obviously come from left field on, you had, you know, because you had that group, like not necessarily group, but that like boiling pot.
Yeah.
And then obviously that's why BKFC were like, we need to start getting these guys over. Yeah. And who was, you know, that's your thing. Is like even when you fought the young guy, the 2 weights above you, the dare to be great thing, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Now the thing is, all the movies, right, that we watch and we recommend and we rate are the dare to be greats, right? But then you go in real life doing it, and then it's like, gives a fuck. Do you know what I mean? It must be kind of frustrating that, like, come on guys, you know what I mean? What are we talking about here? Yeah. You know, and then obviously you did get a lot of stick. But I get that, because I get why you got the stick, because there's like a loyalty, right, within what is believed to be a loyalty. Because what I find is it's interesting that the fighters must always be loyal. However, if you don't fulfill the contracts that you sign, you'll get kicked very quickly, right? So you're expected to be loyal to the BKB, and then you were like, well, you know, those opportunities are small, and then again, if you have a fight and you lose, that opportunity is gone. So you were willing to jump all the way over the fucking pond to whether it was trainers or not. I mean, were there options for you to like wait a little bit?
Nah, so especially with the Palomino fight as well, I was unbeaten at this point. I'd had 4-1 I put my unbeaten record on the line. I didn't have to do that. I could have said, look, it was me that made that fight. I commented on his Instagram, I'll come and quarantine on the moon to get you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I fully meant it, obviously, I went and done it. But I was 4-0. I didn't have to do that. Do you think that Luis Palomino would have done that to come over here, quarantining in a different country, under like terrible circumstances, no training camp, to then come over to here and fight me without a training team? Do you think he would have done that? Pfft.
Well, the thing is, no one, even if you look at professional boxing, like, no one is willing to lose the O, because obviously to them that's another O on the you know what I mean, on the paychecks. But it's like, what I like about bare knuckle is you're not expected to win. It's the way you fight, right? And so that's kind of something that you brought. Very, you know, the stylish. It looks good. It looks great. So it's kind of like what I found strange is little things like, obviously there's other stuff that goes on, but your style of fighting is undeniably for an audience. It's the one, and it's the one of them. Like you ain't gonna see again. Like even when you was fighting on the undercard of Anthony Joshua, massive card, fight of the night. You know what I mean? Like how many fight of the nights have you had? Every night, man.
Yeah, every night. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, people, obviously I get loads and loads of stick. Loads of people, oh, you know, I cut too much and things like that, all this kind of nonsense. And you're like, look, mate, I'm consistently in fight of the night. What do you want from me? What do you want from me? If I'm providing fight of the night for you every time I fight, why are you having a go at me about I cut too much? Like, I am not a robot. I don't just magically replenish after a fight. I've got mad scar tissue all over my face. Like, I'm a human being at the end of the day. You know, I still get in that ring with that same attitude of like, balls to the wall, man. I don't care if I'm blood soaked. But yeah, the amount of like abuse and that I get, oh, you cut too much, you bleed too much. And it's just like absolute ignorance because, you know, I've been fighting 24 years now. I've been a professional for almost 15. And like you just said, how many fight of the nights have I been in? And like, honestly, when I think about it, from boxing to bare knuckle, it's up there, like with most of the fights I've had. You know, just that very aesthetically pleasing style of just technical, but also just mad risks, you know? A risky style. I could be that boxer that boxes on the back foot, doesn't take a lot of chances, doesn't take many risks. And people will be having the same go at me, oh, well, he's boring.
Doesn't take any risks.
He doesn't take any risks, he's boring, all that kind of stuff. So you just can't please people, man. That's the thing, innit?
Yeah, but what I find strange is that you see me and how you're intelligent, and we were speaking about earlier, like, you know, with six years we know each other. And like a lot of guys, you know, they do dwindle, and obviously, especially in the style of fights you have, you're still articulate. But I feel like there's a little bit of like you starting to resent the people that mean the smallest, right? Because it is tiresome, isn't it? Again, I say again, like we are on opposite spectrums, right? So like we work together. Even if you take the other video, like it was my video that Rory and I worked, you know, put it on the thing, But you're the one that's gonna get like, oh, he's not that good. He's and that, you know what I mean? It compounds. Whereas I sit there, no one's saying shit about you know, what I do. So it's easier for me to say like, oh, because I read all the comments, but they never really don't. It might be like, oh, the music shit or something like that, but it's never about me personally. So that must be a bit like a lot to, you know, take on board.
It is a lot to take on board. Like I would say that it's
taxing, isn't it?
Draining. I'd like to think that over time, I'm sort of like now, I'm understanding, look, at the end of the day, if people aren't talking about you, you're not doing anything. And I sort of understand it, but still it's very draining. Like when my Instagram was at its biggest at 45K when I was in America, literally every 2 minutes, my phone was popping off, people giving me abuse. And I generally was talking to people like, I can't take this. Do you know what I mean? They're like, oh, like, for you know.
Just switch the comments off.
For you know, Joe Bloggs, who doesn't have that to worry about. He's just like, well, just ignore it. And I'm like, and I really, like 95% of the comments I really was trying to ignore. But when your phone's popping off every 2 minutes, someone giving you abuse. And I'm a human being like everyone else. I have emotions. Like you catch me on a bad day or whatever, you know, something bad's happened and someone's calling you names and that, how are you going to react to it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if you look at, for example, let's go back to, you know, when it was quite big, you know, and hopefully, you know, with a few good performances, that's what's good about this game. You can get back in there straight away. So when you are big, again, you do have a good, like, few rounds and everyone is talking about, oh shit, he's still the fucking main man, that you'll handle it better because it is taxing, especially like when you look at your lifestyle, you know, when you're with the other bird and then she's kicking off and then all of a sudden your phone goes blim and this guy called Joe Schmo or whatever, you're a prick. And you're like, bro, and then, you know, you do this weird thing where you're like, it's funny as fuck, but like, you basically go in, you take their profile picture and you rate it, like, do you know what I mean? So that's your little way of winning.
Well, I'll get their misses up. And like, you know, the front of some guys, like I'm thinking, you're coming to me with a missus, the state of that, mate. You're talking to me with someone like that, mate. Yeah, no, that's like a knife into their soul, mate. And look, again,
Yeah, but why do you feel like you need to, why do you feel you need to get that little win?
Let me just tell you this, because I feel like this guy has gone out of his way to call me everything under the sun. What right gives you to... I've not come to you. I've not commented on your thing. You've come to my profile, whatever, to just give me loads of abuse. What right what right have you got to do that? Do you know what I mean? So I'm going to ruin your life. I'm going to tell you how ugly your bird is, right? And I'm going to ruin your life, and I'm going to make you feel that big. And wrongly or rightly, that's my coping mechanism of it. Because at the end of the day, I just think, like, mate, like, you've got to be in a really bad place in your life to just see a picture, a video, whatever, of some, like, mostly of my training stuff, and just be like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to comment something really bad on that. You've got to be in a bad place in your life to have that anger, resentment for them, for a person who's out there trying to chase his dream and trying to achieve his dream, and just comment something really negative and bad. And most people will go to any level to try and get a rise out of you. So they'll comment and stuff about my kids. It can be whatever. Do you know what I mean? And I just think, wow, this guy, like, what right have you got to come and do that to me? Like, physically, if you were stood in front of me, I would decimate you. I would rip you apart. I would eat you. Like, and that's real, man. Like the level of that abuse that you're giving me. If you were stood in front of me, mate, like, so what right do you think you've got to do that online? It's a mad place, social media.
Yeah, but that's why I say to you, we're saying about on your page and that, when that shit happened on my page, right? And that's why I didn't like, because it's kind of like, that's why I reply, and then you're like, because it's the same thing. It's like, it's frustrating that those, like, kind of spats happen. Because all it is like, this guy said this guy said this, this guy said this, right? And you know what that's like. But what's interesting about what you said there is, like, if you said that about Luke Dyson, he's trying to, he's just trying to X, Y, Z. But then we spoke about it after you said a fanboy and that, giving me shit. But, we spoke about it, and it's kind of like, it is in some sense. Yeah. It is like, yes, he's trying to better his life, but what you're mad at, or not mad at, what frustrates you is, it's not to do with the bettering your life. It's not to do with being, everyone says he's a cool guy. And he is sound in real life. Like, I got on with him, like, relatively well, but that's not your point.
It's not, it's at the expense of the sport I love. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, look, I have nothing personal against Luke Dyson. There will be another Luke Dyson come along next week and the week after trying to do the exact same thing. He is just really, really muddying the waters and the credibility of boxing. Do you know what I mean? By what he's doing. At the end of the day, like, for me, I started as a 10-year-old amateur boxer, right? Amateur boxing is king. Do you know what I mean? Be an amateur boxer, I was a national champion. I'm very, very proud of that. Like, I got to the final, I won it. To be a national champion as an amateur, you're an elite fighter. Do you know what I mean? And this guy, look, again, wrongly or rightly, you can have people disagree with me. He's blown up on Instagram, doing white collar, right? That's number one. He is not doing it the right way. If he blew up for being a really good amateur boxer, I'd probably be the first person to applaud him. Do you know what I mean? Be like, do you know what, mate? Fair dues, like, you deserve it. But he's doing it in a way where, I mean, look, you look at the state of some of these guys he's fighting. Like, they're not fighters. There's some geezer who just trains once a week, do you know what I mean? And then jumps in the ring for fun. That's what white collar unlicensed is at the end of the day. They've got a normal job. And they
just have the experience, innit?
Yeah.
But he's like a pro white collar. Do you know what I mean?
It's not pro. It's not pro.
But he's professional because he's running a circuit, isn't he? He's making a living.
It's definitely not professional.
It's professional white collar. You could say that.
No,
you could.
No.
Because professional, by definition, professional means you get paid and you make a living, right?
Nah.
So what he's done is he's turned something that, say one guy does an 8-week camp and then he goes on a thing, right? I've seen them. You've seen them adverts on Instagram and that. Do an 8-week training course and have a show, right? But he's turned that into like a winning formula. Because if he fights every week for $1,000 That's 52K a year.
He's definitely not fighting for $1,000. And it's not. It's just, mate, it's not.
It's a professional white collar. I like this. I've just made it up right now. It's made you angry.
I like it. It's not made me angry. It's just like, I don't really know how to get that point. It's because I agree with what you're saying. He's obviously getting paid for it, all that kind of stuff. But,
no,
like, that's by saying, oh, that's professional, totally disrespects all the actual professionals out there. Like, that's just gone, boom, that's a slap in the face to every professional, hard-working professional boxer out there that is earning hardly nothing fighting legit fighters. Like me, for example, right? When I was in America, right? That Mindoro, right?
Yeah.
So with me, I could not get a fight out in America, right? I had 2 fights, signed the contract, both fight week, both of them are pulled out. Both dropped out, right? And that's my living, do you know what I mean? I'm out in Miami trying to make it happen. I got no money. I got both fights dropped out 10 days later. And bearing in mind as well, right? So I actually got down to the second fight, 153 pounds, right? I had to get down to. So it's fight week. I got down to that weight, right? Next thing I know, I've then been offered the Mindoro fight at 162, right? Brilliant. So that's nine pounds later, right? 9 pounds heavier, sorry. So that's like 10 days later, that fight. So I took that fight because I was like, I've got to do it. The geezer's 11-0, 11 knockouts. Manny Pacquiao's handpicked him himself, brought him over from the Philippines, put him in Sean Gibbons' camp in Las Vegas. I was sat behind him when we were having the pre-fight interview. All he does is train. He doesn't have another job. All he does is train, right? And I'm thinking to myself, right, this guy, you know, they're obviously believe he's going to be the real deal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's massive endorsement. Huge, isn't it?
And then Pro Box on the day of the weigh-in have come up to me, you're going to have to re-sign the contract. Sorry, we messed the weight up. It's actually another pound heavier, right? So I'm like, right, okay. And obviously at this point it's on the weigh-in. Do you know what I mean? So I'm fighting. I've got to fight.
Yeah, I remember you did that video in the car park just before it.
Yeah.
And you were like, man, dare to be great. And again, like I said earlier, it's like this dare to be great thing, right, to me, is what things are like movies or moments are made of, right?
All I was thinking before that fight was, damn, if I go in there, which, look, I was capable technically, but I just wasn't big enough. I was nowhere near big enough for him.
But the skill,
I also had 7 years out of boxing, 7 years away. All right, okay, I'd done bare knuckle 15 months earlier, but bare knuckle and boxing are different sports. Do you know what I mean? I'd not boxed professionally for 7 years, and I've gone into the ring with this guy. Basically, what I'm alluding to is, look, at the end of the day, like...
No, but wait there. The skill that you showed in the first round, right, shows why you were good when you were a pro boxer, right? You can't, it's kind of like one of those things where you can't lose those skills. Obviously, the timing and the speed and all that does diminish, but you went in there and, like, me being like, you know, I enjoy watching your fights. I enjoy your character and all that shit. So it's entertaining for me, right? Yeah. But what frustrates me is, again, coming from a guy who has no clue in reality, there's things that I was like, if you just did this, if you just did that, I would have loved to have seen you slow the pace and go back. But that's just not... But
also, maybe if I'd had 2 warm-up fights before that fight, it would have been different. Like, you know, you find your timing... Getting used to professional boxing again.
The gloves a bit again, isn't it?
I'd just done bare knuckle 14 months earlier, which was 2-minute rounds. So going back to 3 minutes, going back to gloves, you know, everything. So getting used to that whole thing again. If I'd had 2 warm-up fights, who knows, you know, how it would have went. But, you know, my cut man next to me, shout out Vic, he, as we were walking out, obviously, Pro Box promote Mindoro, and they just said, Vic turned around at me and said, you know you're not going to win this on points, don't you? And I went, oh, I know. And, you know, I will go in there, and maybe I went 2 guns blazing, especially in the second round after a good first round. But I also knew that it didn't matter if I put this guy down. If it goes to points, I'm losing. Do you know what I mean? I need to knock this guy out to get a draw. So I went out there to
cause an upset, big rate.
Dare
so you
to
did
be
do
great.
it. It's sick as fuck.
Yeah. Dare to be great. And going back to the whole Luke Dyson thing, like, where I agree, like, he's getting paid obviously to do it, and I suppose it sort of does make it a pro thing, but like, you just cannot, you cannot put us in the same category. Do you know what I mean?
No, but that's what I said to you. That's what I'm saying to you. And this is what I'm saying is like, I said to you, like, you're playing a different game, right? But then again, like through speaking, it's kind of like, you're like saying, well, not actually, because what he's doing, you know, like for example, where he said to me he won 12 belts last year, right? And then it's kind of like, you know, you've won your belts. But then if a guy's like, you know, like say for example, you're in, you know, 10, 20 years, 30 years from now, you go, oh yeah, I was, you know, a British champion. I got a belt. And then the guy turns around and goes, oh yeah, my mate's got 14 belts as well.
Mate,
and it's like, whoa.
Well, like the trouble is, like you understand the fight game, and you understand that me and Luke Dyson are in different categories. But like we said earlier, like the ignorance, the stupidity of the average Joe doesn't see it like that. So the 15 belts that he has, not worth a carrot, you know, to like actual boxing people, you know, the average Joe thinks, wow, oh my God, you know, he's EBO champion of the galaxy. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, like, and that, I think that to me is the most aggravating thing, because, you know, and that, a lot of that ignorance isn't anyone else, it isn't people's fault. They just don't know the fight game. But the trouble is, it's like, he's just, you know, he's like, you know, covering your eyes and being like, and just telling you, oh, no, actually, no, I'm a champion, I'm this. And they don't really know what's going on. They're very blind to it. And people like Luke Dyson are just painting this image of something that just really isn't going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, it's not, I don't believe it's Luke who's doing it. Like I said to you, Luke is just, he's, you know, a guy that's found.
Nah, he's a clout hound, mate. He's a hound for it. He's a hound for it.
I wouldn't say that. You know what I'd say is it's the guys that are hiring him to fight on the shows, right? Because if they didn't want to use him, right, for his essential clout, right, then it wouldn't work. It wouldn't have an avenue
but then
to go.
Answer me this, like, you know, obviously we've had our backwards and forwards. I mean, if he's not a clout hound and got this mad God complex from I don't know what.
Yeah, well,
he's calling me a nobody, right? He's calling me a nobody. I have no achievements. Nobody knows who I am, and that I'm clout chasing him, right? And like, he's living in a parallel universe, man. He's on Planet Clout because Planet Clout, mate. Seriously, because
no, but
like,
I get that.
How could and to be honest with you, like, you know, my mate Kevin Mitchell, I bet if Kevin was to say something to him, like school him, educate him in boxing, he'd probably say the same thing to Kevin. Do you know what I mean? He probably would, because he's at that age where he doesn't know enough about the fight game. All he knows is him and his fat head, breeze blockhead. Like, do you know what I mean? In this God complex that he's got through all these people cheering him on Instagram, all these fanboys. Do you know what I mean? But actually, he's doing absolutely nothing. He's doing nothing, man. There's levels to this. That is it. There's levels to this. And what you're doing has no level to it whatsoever. I said very fairly on a video a few days ago, go and win an under 10 bout novice championship in the ABAs. Do you know what I mean? In the nationals, go and do that, and I will be the first person to drive to Halifax and shake you by the hand. But you will not do that, because you know you can't do that. So instead, you choose to go down the white collar route of just fighting these Teletubbies and for clout and everything else. Do you know what I mean? And I don't respect it. I've been through that. I've been in the trenches, mate, in this game. This game has put me in places that, you know, no one will ever know. I've done it the hard way all my life. So when I see people coming up like him who are doing it so easy and getting all this recognition, nah, man, it don't sit well with me one bit. It really doesn't.
But this is where I say you have a responsibility, right, through what you've done and who you've become through. I mean, think about the kid you were, yeah? I think you lost your first 5 fights, right? And then you still carried on, determined. And then guess what? You then fucking, you got kicked off of the old British board, and then you went, you know what, I'm gonna go bare knuckle, and then you got to a point where it's like, okay, cool, well, I'm gonna go to America. So that's the kind of human you are. That's why when I see you saying all this shit, I know who you are. I'm very fortunate to know who you are. But the way that people perceive you is not who you are. And that's what's frustrating is like, I think Danny Christie's a great example, right? Danny Christie spoke to him, got him on his podcast, spoke to him, but still managed to let him know there's levels. I think they even did a bit of sparring. Right. And then, so like, I believe that's that's kind of, as a, you know, if you look at your trainers, right, what trainers do, you take a troubled guy and you try and, I think you calling him out, it's a waste of time. It's not like you guys are ever going to fight.
Yeah.
Right?
No, look, I just wanted to spar him again, show him there's levels to this. I mean, the guy's got, what, 2 stone on me, and I would still absolutely decimate him and show him there's levels to this. The real beef, more than anything, is what he said to me of that I'm a nobody, I'm clout chasing him. And that to me means one thing. This whole God complex that Instagram has created for him, planet clout, mate. And you need to come back to earth. You need to come back and see what it's really about. Do you know what I mean? Because his head's in the clouds, like, and yeah, it's madness, mate.
Well, it's like, for example, you know, you were, I mean, it's different earnings as well. Like you've been top of the world in terms of like, you know, like saying on holiday, cars, da-da-da-da. You know, and you know, the irony is, you know how quickly that shit can go.
Yeah, the bubble burst, yeah.
Yeah. It's not even the bubble burst. I think, like, for example, I don't know how you manage to do it. You really wind up the promoters. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
I think it's because, you know, there's lines people must tread in order to be in the good books. Like me, you know, like I also struggle with that a little bit. You got to kiss this guy's ass. You got to fucking stroke this guy's dick the other way. You know, this guy likes a pat on the back. I don't know. I'm not good at that, right? Yeah. And the same as with you. It's like, if you feel taken the piss out of.
Yeah, well, like, I've explained this to a few people, like, because, again, I get a lot of abuse on Instagram for it, where people are like, you should talk better about the promoters, and all this kind of stuff. And the thing is, once upon a time I did, but what you got to remember is I was fighting under Eddie Hearn for years, right? Eddie Hearn, arguably the biggest promoter in the world, right? And that guy dogged me, done me out of a contract, right? And left me in the absolute boxing abyss, right? So imagine how I felt, right? And that's the biggest promoter in the world. So you think to yourself, right, if the biggest boxing promoter in the world can do that to you, right? What are all these other little mugs going to do, right? So all of a sudden I've got Dave Feldman and all these idiots doing their absolute most, right? Putting me in the ghetto in Boca Chica, Dominican, where after 2 weeks of sending me links to some plush hotel they're going to put me in, then they bang me in the ghetto in Dominican Republic.
What was that name? Boca Chica what?
Boca Chica, yeah? Like,
that sounds like the middle of the
not one person
bro.
spoke English there, right? And like black, like third world. I've been to Africa, it was like third world, black. I'm some white kid covered in tattoos, right? They banged me in some shared home there with a wife and a husband, right? Neither of them spoke any English, right?
How did they even organise that?
That's what I'm saying. After weeks of them sending me a link, you're staying here. So I'm thinking, I'm showing my phone to this geezer, right? Raphael, his name was, who I stayed with, right?
Couldn't
speak a word of English. So I'm like, nah, mate, what do you mean? I'm going here, mate. I'm going here. And like, I'm showering, right, with a hose, right? Didn't even have a shower. I'm showering with a hose, right? And my phone ran out. My phone's completely run out of battery, right? Because I didn't have an adapter. I'm trying to go in. They didn't have shops there. They have like houses that are shops. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Like you can tell that they sleep there.
It's like it's like third
like
world.
Thailand,
third world.
Thailand,
do you know what I mean? So I'm going in there. I'm trying to explain to some Dominican who doesn't speak a word of English that I need an adapter to charge my phone. So that all went wrong. Do you know what I mean? So they've done the absolute most. And then that video that I put up with the gym, where there's rain pouring through, there was 2 punch bags, they're expecting me to train for a world title fight, right? So why on God's earth would I take that from Dave Feldman? Why? Why should I? I'm risking my life for you, for your benefit, to make money, right? and you can't even look after me. What if that was your son, right? And you popped him the other side of the world. He's not got a phone, right? So I couldn't even contact people. They didn't know, my mum and dad didn't know what was going on or anything. They just didn't hear nothing from me, right? So if that was Dave Feldman's son, how would he feel about that, right? But yet, when I speak up about it, I'm getting abuse from people. Oh, you shouldn't talk to Dave. Why shouldn't I talk to Dave Feldman? Like, it's just treated me like subhuman scum. Like, and I'm not allowed to talk about it. Mate, this is not my first rodeo. Do you know what I mean? I've been there with Eddie Hearn who treated me like a dog, right? Do you think I'm going to let some little two-bob idiot like Dave Feldman do it to me? Nah, I ain't happening. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm so vocal, because I've had it done with me. Most people in BKFC, right? BKFC is very like, oh, the production's very glitz and glamour. Oh my God, it's brilliant. But behind the scenes is poor.
Yeah, it's like a good magic trick.
A magic trick, exactly that. It's really, really poor. But most fighters are really taken back and like, oh my God, I've made it to the big time. And perhaps, like, in many ways, when I first went to America and Miami and that, I perhaps was a little bit, do you know what I mean? Like, because the production of that on the face of it looks amazing. Do you know what I mean? But then you get to know all the behind the scenes and you're like, nah, mate, these guys are terrible, poor. Anyway, most of these fighters in BKFC now, this is their first big time event. So they're willing to do anything, they're willing to take anything to be there. So they're not speaking out on it because they know that if they do speak out on it, boom, your head's on the chopping block, mate. You're like, good, John, see you later. Do you know what I mean? So they're not talking about it. I've had so many BKFC fighters message me, ring me, when I was in the gym in Miami, come up to me, confide to me, oh, BKFC are doing me on this, da-da-da-da. And then that same night, they're posting, oh, I'm fighting for the best and biggest promotion in the world. And you're like, things aren't ever going to get better.
Yeah, but it's a facade, isn't it? People, as long as other people believe you're doing well, a lot of people will be willing to take that.
Yeah. But, you know, what I'm saying is they're basically, you know, where that's their first big time,
yeah, like obviously
they're willing to do whatever. And I suppose I probably was like that when I was with Eddie Hearn 12 years ago. There was things going on, you know, the money was trash and all that, but I'm here. Do you know what I mean? And I want to be here. I want to be here, so I'm willing to take whatever I've got to take to still be here. Whereas now I'm 33, with 12, 13 years down the line, I ain't sticking none of that shit. I just ain't doing it, and people have to understand that. You know, and if that person who's giving me abuse because of all the bad treatment I'm getting in BKFC, if they hate me for it, they obviously get treated like shit in their job and they're just a dick sucker and just get on with it. Well, more for you, mate. Do you know what I mean? So that's down to them, isn't it?
yeah, but exactly like we've spoken a bit about from both ends of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, how much shit must you take before you're like,
that's too much.
Yeah. How much is too much? You know what I mean? Obviously, like, it's compounding, isn't it? So for some guys, they're willing to wait 3 months to get paid. There's some guys, you know what I mean? They get put on a shelf, like we said about, you know, Pat and all that stuff. They get treated in a way where they get put on a shelf. They own them. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's a weird game. I think you said where the snakes control the lions, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good line.
At the end of the day, and I understand that, you know, the fight, like, you know, combat sports professionally is a business. You know, everyone's out to make money. Of course they are. But, you know, I've screamed it from the rooftops, man. All I've ever wanted in combat sports as a professional is to be treated with basic levels of respect. And I'm wrong for asking that.
Yeah, but see, that's the same for me as well. Like, I never wanted clout. I don't care about none of that shit. If anyone ever says that shit about me, you know it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because I've been behind the camera for over 12 years, right? And with over 10 in combat sports, right? And then all I want to do is go to a show and someone let me film. Just let me crack on.
Yeah.
And it's got to the point now where people are trying to prevent me from going to shows. Trying to prevent me from filming. So it's like, what is going on here? Do you know what I mean? If I was, look at me, come to, you know, like, all this that I don't really want to be doing. But if I was doing that, it's like, welcome in. Welcome in. It's like, again, it's this world of I believed one thing where the world believes another, and me trying to like find out where is okay for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with this is cool for me. I will never let any organisation ever tell me who I can and can't film. And I'm glad that the fighters feel the same way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very lucky in that way.
And look, at the end of the day, these organisations are gonna, you know, they've got all the marketing, the production, and all the money to try and make themselves look squeaky clean. You know, like Conor McGregor owns half of it, and you know, and all that. So why are they gonna believe little old me? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's the same as like the fighters. They said like a couple of them said they're going to say something, but why should fighters have to worry about what a guy who's trying to promote them? Yeah. Why should? And I was like, no, that's why even like what happened.
But that's at the end of the day. I understand this as well. Like the fighter needs the promotion more than the promotion needs the fighter. Yeah. You know, and that's it. At the end of the day, that's you out of a job, isn't it? You know what I mean? So it's like. I get it, but also, like I've said, things will never get any better while they're allowed to just run riot and do what they want to fighters and disrespect fighters. At the end of the day, and people probably ain't gonna like this, but I've put it like, it's like Mandingo fighting, mate, like slave fighting. Like you were literally doing, like I've had contracts with BKFC, like I might as well just screwed it up and just thrown it in the bin, mate, because it's just like, you didn't stick to any of it. Do you know what I mean? It was worthless. You even give me the bit of paper. Do you know what I mean? Honestly, like, and that's just total disrespect for a person who, especially me, I'll get in that ring and, mate, you'll have to carry me out on a stretcher. Like, if you can't respect that and just stick to the things that you've said you're going to do, like, there's something seriously wrong with you, man. And that's what we're up against at the end of the day. People just don't care. They don't care. They're in it for the money. And that's what you're up against, isn't it? At the end of the day. Simple as that.
It was a nice, happy ending to what is the first, I believe, of many. So I appreciate it, bruv.
Yeah. No, it was nice, mate. Therapeutic.